Hi everyone. Hi and welcome. We are now live here. Welcome to today's digital lunch talk here at the Great Journey. Today we have Klara Jonsson with us, and today's topic is how to work with Adventure Creator. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to post your questions in this YouTube chat, and we will answer questions after Klara's presentation. And the presentation will be recorded and you can watch it later on our YouTube channel. Also make sure that you like and subscribe and check out our other lunch talks and future coming lunch talks. Make sure you don't miss that. And with that said, it is now time for Klara. Take it away.
Hello and welcome to my talk about Adventure Creator. Today I was thinking we're going to talk a little bit about the basics since there's really too many features to cover them all in one sitting. I'm not even sure I've found out about all the features yet. So this will be the agenda for today. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and who's talking. And then I'm going to explain shortly what is Adventure Creator and how does it work. So we're going to talk about visual scripting, how to navigate in game, how to create and animate characters, how conversations work, how we can set up an inventory and populate those with items, and also how in-game menus work with Adventure Creator. And then I'm going to go over shortly a little bit about the alternatives that are out there if you don't want to use Unity. So it's definitely going to help you to follow the talk if you have some experience with Unity. So this is me. I mean, I'm an IT consultant, work mainly with software development. In my spare time, I make and play games. And right now, I'm working on a point and click adventure, of course, using this Adventure Creator engine. So if you want to know more about our game, you can check us out on Instagram or Facebook. We also have a web page up. So go check us out. The Adventure Creator is basically an add-on for Unity that you can purchase in the Asset Store. You can make 2D and 3D games with it. You can also mix and match, so you can have 3D objects in a 2D game and vice versa. With Adventure Creator, you can create point and click games, but you could also do top-down adventures like a Zelda game. And a neat thing about Adventure Creator is that there's no coding required. So basically, everyone can be a game developer, even if you don't have experience with programming. And this is the AC game editor. If you haven't used Unity before, maybe it's not going to make any sense. But once you've had the asset installed in Unity, you will have this new tab in Unity that's called the AC game editor. And this is basically the editor used together with the inspector tab to manage all sorts of settings and characters and everything like that in your game. I'm going to come back to this later in the presentation. First, a little bit about the visual coding. This is the action list editor in Adventure Creator. Basically what it does is that it translates to code behind the hood. So this is one example where I'm using nodes to first play background music, and then in the red box you can see that based on a variable, if it's true or not, I can go down 2 different node trees. So this is basically the logic in game. So it's really easy to use, even if you don't have any programming skills. To navigate in a scene, this is one of the example scenes from our game. And to navigate in a scene, you use nav meshes, which is basically a polygon collider. In this image, you can see that it's outlined with red. And also you can see there's another one that is outlined in orange, and that is a nav mesh hole. So we can create holes in the nav mesh, so to tell the player you can't walk here. To walk around in this navigation mesh here, the Adventure Creator engine uses pathfinding, where it calculates the optimal route between two coordinates within the nav mesh. When navigating, we can also take advantage of sorting layers. The sorting layers determines in which order objects should be placed. For example, if the player is on sorting layer number 1, or -1, she will be behind everything that's on the layer 0 and up. So if you look at this image, it's clear that the player should be able to walk around the well. We don't want her to go through it, which means we have to switch layers in game. And using layers, sorting layers, we can achieve that. So if you see the blue arrow here, on the blue y-axis, the player will be behind the well. Since she would be on the blue axis, she will be -1. When she reaches the y-axis that is red, she will have the sorting layer number 1. So that means when she crosses over between the two y-axis spots there, she will switch sorting layers, and it will simulate that she's walking in a 3D space, but when it's basically a 2D scene. You can also use the scaling tool, sorting layer as a scaling tool, which means when she is up here at the furthest away from the top of the y-axis in the sorting layer, we can say that she will have a size of 100%. And then it will calculate the percentage all the way to the bottom, saying that she will be size 150, so that she also, when she walks deeper into the scene, she will become a little bit smaller. And you can also use the sorting layers also to affect the walking speed. So it simulates a very neat. It really looks like she's walking in 3D, but she's walking in 2D. So it's very good for that. And in this scene, in the scene, we can also add markers and hotspots. Hotspots are areas in the scene that we can interact with. Hotspots are also just a nav mesh based on Unity colliders. Here I've made a hotspot on the tire tracks to the right of the scene. It's colored with blue. We can instruct the player to interact with the hotspot. But of course, it wouldn't make sense if a player would interact with the hotspot from if the character would be standing to the left of the scene. We can't interact with the hotspot that is on the opposite side. So that's when you can use the markers, and I've tried to circle them with green rings here. And the one that's connected to the hotspot is the red circle. And we can then, using the action list editor that I showed you before, tell the player to walk to that marker, which I circled in red, before interacting with the hotspot of the tire tracks. And that is basically the summary of how you can use logic and hotspots and markers and nav meshes to walk around in game. Once we have a scene set up, maybe we want someone to walk around in it. And Adventure Creator has thought of that also, obviously. And to create a new character, we can use the character wizard. So basically, you tell the character wizard if you want to create a player or if you want to create an NPC. Then you can choose between a variety of animation engines. I've only used Sprite Unity, so I'm not really sure how it works with the other engines, but this is the default option and it works quite well. So you can just go ahead and go with that. And then you can set up some additional settings, Yet again, I haven't done that, haven't had the need. And just as that, you have a character ready in game. And when you have the character ready, if you use the character wizard to create one, then it's really just some small steps to animate it. Of course, if you have the animations, I'm using Spine as an animation tool, and it's not officially supported by Adventure Creator, but I've written quite a detailed tutorial on how to integrate it with Adventure Creator. So if you want to use Spine and Adventure Creator, get in touch and I will sort you out with a tutorial. Anyway, once you have the animations done, you can, via the inspector in Unity, check the player or the NPC script. They're basically the same. The player script has a lot more features. And you can tell it here in how many directions the player would face. So here we have we've chosen to animate it in 8 directions. And this will produce a list here of expected animations, which helps you out. So this is the list of expected animations. And this is where knowledge of Unity really is helpful, I guess. Then you use the Unity animator and you just enter states for all those expected animations. And then then Adventure Creator takes care of the logic. So if you have all the animations set up with the correct states, then it switches around when you are walking in the scene and also talking. You can also add specific animations. We have one here that's called Mayor's Push. It's when you can push an object. And then you can use the action list editor, the visual coding tool, to run specific animations on specific events. As long as it's in the Unity animator, it will know what to do. One of the biggest parts in point and click games is conversations and talking with NPCs. And to manage conversation in Adventure Creator, there is a neat feature called the conversation editor. And this is an example of what a conversation looks like in the editor. The small image to the right is what it looks like in game once it's set up. You can customize it with fonts and colors, and you can design a dialog box. Everything is completely customizable. You can also set up dialog portraits for the dialog box. And when you click on a dialog, there we go. When you click on a dialog, it runs a series of actions again from the action list editor. So here we have you press on the dialog, you tell the player to speak, and you add the line text. And in this example, we have the rooster NPC, and the dialogue continues like that in the dialogue tree. And when that action list is finished, you can also use the conversation editor to specify what should happen when the action list is finished. Should we return to the conversation again, or should we stop? So basically, if you click Byru, it will say Byru, and then it would stop. So then the conversation is over. Another big part of point and click games are inventory items. This is the AC Game Editor tab that I showed you in some of the first slides. You can see that on top, you can see that you have all the settings. You have a scene, which have all the variables connected to the specific scene that is open. You have global game settings. You can have actions. You can set variables that describes what like global variables. Have I picked up this item? If this item is in my inventory, then I unlock this dialog option. And could be any variables, basically. And then, of course, there's the inventory tab, and this is where you manage all your items. As you can see, I have 28 of them already, and we've only made it half 50% into the development, I guess. So there will be a lot of items, I think. If you notice the sub tabs, there's also a crafting tab. We haven't gotten around to using that yet, but it means you can create recipes for the game, so you could utilize a crafting system. So, and I've seen some tutorials on it, and it seems to be working really good. You can also set up categories and documents. I'm not really sure what that is, but as you can see, I haven't had time to explore all the features yet of the Adventure Creator. Anyway, you use this inventory tab to create a new item here, and then it will have a lot of settings. You can choose the main graphic, you can name it, you can set some interactions with every item to create an action list, a visual coding tree. That was, if I examine the umbrella, I think it says this is an umbrella. We just put up an example. Yeah. So that's it about items. It's fairly straightforward. Once you have the items set up, you want to show them perhaps in an inventory. This is called a menu, and again, it's the game editor and the menu tab. A menu is basically an empty box in which you put elements. You can arrange them in any way. And there's a screenshot here of what kind of elements there are. Okay, sorry. What kind of elements there are available. We have the inventory box here, as you can see, which is already set up by Adventure Creator. So there really was no need to do any inventory logic. So that is already included in the Adventure Creator. However, working with placement of elements in Adventure Creator menus is a bit tedious. But if we don't like that, we can always use a Unity canvas, thankfully, because it's much easier to design a nice looking menu with that. So if we have so we just create the Unity canvas, and we can add the Unity UI buttons and panels, and then we can just link the same button to the button element in the menu. And then it will record a constant ID. And then it will disappear from the link. But as long as you have the ID here, then it's connected to that button. So it works really good. I guess that was it. It went a lot quicker than I thought it was. But some alternatives, if you don't want to, I think Unity is one license for Unity right now. Unity Adventure Creator is 70 euros or something like that. And it's a personal license. If you just want to play around, maybe it's a bit costly, then you have, as an alternative, it's a Visionary Studio. It's not an add-on. It's a complete software just for creating this type of games. They also have visual coding. I haven't yet seen that they have support for 3Ds. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that you're able to do like a top-down game either. It's also licensed, but they have a multi-user license, which means I think you can be up to 5 persons, developers on one license, so that's good. And then we also have the Adventure Game Studio. It doesn't have visual coding, but it has a very neat system for scripting, and from what I can tell, it's based on C. They also have 3D, and I haven't seen any support for top-down games either. But the biggest pro, I guess, is that it's free. So if you want to just play around, you can try Adventure Game Studio. There's a big community out there for both of them, so I'm guessing whatever you want to do, you can make it happen with any of them as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Klara. Great presentation. Thank you very much. We have got some questions here. You mentioned that the price tag is 70 euros. I just think that's seems like a reasonable price to get a lot of
Yes, it is.
features.
I would totally recommend Unity. I think it's worth every penny. All the issues we had, we tried to do all the logic ourselves before, but once we found out about this asset, there was no question about it. It's really good, and the community is bigger and than both Visionary Studio and Venture Game Studio, from what I can tell. And there's really
Yeah,
great support from the developers as well.
nice. Because that was my next question. How is the help and support? And if you get stuck, can you get help? How do you get help? And so
Yeah,
on.
they have a big forum,
Mm-hmm.
so you can post questions in the forum. There's also a wiki, which is maintained and populated by both the developers of AC, but also the game developers that are using it. So it's very up to date, and all the questions I've had, I've been able to find an answer on it either in the forum or in the manual. So can definitely recommend.
Nice. You also mentioned it had support both for 2D and 3D. Have you
Hmm.
been tried out any 3D just to see how it works, or has it only been 2D in this case?
And yeah, for me, it's mostly been 2D, but I've tried out their 3D tutorial, and yeah, it works basically the same. Of course, you don't have to mess around with sorting layers when you're using a 3D space, but uh, the cool thing is that you can use a 3D character uh, in a 2D scene as well. So it's cool that you can
Nice.
mix and match.
Yeah, sounds like a great tool, especially if you're a smaller team, or if you like me don't like coding.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
definitely.
absolutely. Also, there's one more question here. You mentioned your own project. Can you tell us a bit about your project?
Yeah, sure. We're making a game called Insanto, Insidious Incidents. It's a point and click adventure that takes place on a farm where one summer night a van crashes into the well in the middle of the farm, and uh, and this van has left a chemical plant, so they have a lot of chemical waste that they are trying to dump somewhere in the middle of the Swedish forests. Where else? But something happens and they crash on the farm, and all this chemical waste spills out onto the farm, and they kidnap the farmer on the farm, but they don't mind all the animals. But during the night, the chemical waste it mutates the animals, and they gain awareness, and all the vegetables as well, of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds awesome.
yeah.
And where can people go if they want to follow you or read more and just check out your progress?
Yeah, I can go back to that slide quick. So here we are. If you want to
Awesome.
know more about the game, you can check us out on Instagram or Facebook, and then we also have a web page that you can check out. And this is the cow. It's the main character of the game. She's called Majros.
Nice.
Yeah.
Uh, Okay, and I think we don't have any more questions at this point. So thank you very much for having this talk and showing us this really nice tool. I think it's a very inspiring tool, and it's great that you are working with it. I think you're saving a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I hope it was easy to follow. There's a lot of small
Mm-hmm.
details, and if you haven't
Mm-hmm.
worked with Unity before, maybe it was not so easy to follow. Maybe the last parts when we're talking about animation, but if anyone needs help setting it up, if you want to work on a game like this, then anyone can contact me, and I will help them out.
That's great. Sounds great. And that's it for today.
Yeah,
Thank you, Klara. And as
thank you.
always, it's great to have you here. And if you've
It's
seen
great
this,
to be here.
yeah, awesome. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching this. We will have reoccurring digital lunch talks here at The Great Journey. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching.